In April 2026, the United States national debt crossed $39 trillion. That breaks down to a $114,000 burden for every person in America, or $285,000 for the average household. Most people dismiss these figures with a few standard arguments. We owe the money to ourselves, we can always print more, or we've survived high debt before. While these points contain fragments of truth, they ignore the measurable ways the debt is already reaching into your pocket. Current data maps the specific ways the national debt is already extracting value from your household, visible right now in your mortgage rate, your car payment, and your daily purchasing power. Why does the debt to GDP ratio matter more than the raw number? Because the economy's ability to service debt scales with its size. The question is not how much you owe, it's how much you owe relative to how much you earn. Federal interest payments are accelerating at a historic pace. In 2020, the government paid $345 billion in interest. By 2025, that figure hit $970 billion. And in 2026, interest payments will cross the $1 trillion mark for the first time in American history. That 2025 interest bill was so massive, it exceeded the combined federal spending for Medicaid, veterans benefits, and food assistance. Federal revenue consumed by interest payments services the past while providing zero new infrastructure, education, or tax relief for the present. Channel 1 is the direct erosion of your purchasing power. Between April 2025 and 2026, inflation ran at 3.8%, while wages grew by 3.6%. This gap is a documented outcome of high deficits, which create inflationary pressure that effectively functions as a hidden tax on every household. Channel 2 hits through your borrowing costs. Massive government debt issues put constant upward pressure and 10-year Treasury yields, the benchmark that dictates the rates for your student loans, auto loans, and mortgages. The Yale Budget Lab found this debt pressure pushes mortgage rates nearly 100 basis points higher, costing the average homeowner an extra $2,500 in interest every year. We see the same trend in car payments, which climbed 22% as loan rates surged between 2021 and 2025. Increased government borrowing mathematically guarantees a higher cost of living for every citizen who needs to finance a home, a car, or an education. The mechanism: government borrowing absorbs capital that would otherwise fund private investment, new factories, new technology, new equipment. Less investment means less productivity growth, means less wage growth. This creates a policy bind for the Federal Reserve. Any attempt to lower interest rates to spark economic growth is instantly countered by the sheer volume of government borrowing, which keeps rates high and forces the Fed to work against the nation's fiscal reality. A structurally smaller private economy produces fewer opportunities and lower wages for the next generation. We are trading future prosperity for current debt service. As a share of federal revenues, interest payments hit 18.6% in 2026. By 2036, 25.8%. Today, the U.S. faces slowing population growth and intense global competition in manufacturing that simply didn't exist in the 1940s. Even the interest peak of 1991 was mitigated by the massive productivity dividend of the early tech boom. We currently face similar debt levels without a comparable economic miracle on the horizon. Because the historical drivers of growth are absent, the current fiscal path is mathematically unsustainable. The math of the 21st century requires a different strategy than the math of the 20th. Defending your finances starts with 3 moves. First, acknowledge the cost of cash. In an environment of persistent deficits and high inflation, holding large cash reserves results in a guaranteed loss of purchasing power every year. Second, utilize the dynamic of fixed-rate debt. Inflation allows you to repay long-term loans, like a fixed mortgage, with dollars that are worth significantly less than when you first borrowed them. Third, prioritize productive assets. History shows that wealth is maintained during high-debt eras by holding real estate or equity index funds, assets that grow with the economy, rather than saving in fiat currency. This $39 trillion debt is a documented ongoing cost to every American household. Success requires making decisions based on where the math is already heading. Let me know in the comments which of these 5 channels is affecting you most. I read every one. See you next video.